Hello dear students, welcome to the first lecture of the technical documentation. This is one of the important element of the first chapter, and this lecture we are going to discuss what you mean by the technical documentations and what the types of the technical documentation and what do you mean by the TIMI standards for the industrial applications and what are the characteristics and the features of the documentation. Okay, these are the important contents of this lecture. So the first of all is starting with what you mean by the term is documentation. What is the documentations? An office point of view, the business point of view, we prepare the term is documentations. What is the documentations? The documentations is like a material that provide the official information or evidence or that serve as a record. That means it's like an official information or evidence for something. The documents are the evidence for something. Suppose you're doing a work, we need the documents. In order to prove the work, we need the documentation. So the documentation is very important and is one of official information or evidence that serve as a record. For the future point of view, the future reference, we need the documents. Suppose you are preparing the technical report, we need the documentations. That means in order to prove the record, we need the term, the documentations. So it's a material that provide the official information or evidence that serve as a record. The term is known as the documentation. And we're discussing what you mean by the technical documentation. This lecture purely discussing what we mean by the term is the technical documentations. The technical documentation means it's prepared by an expert. The technical documents is mainly prepared by the statisticians, designers, economists and stockbrokers. So it's like a tool created for the various industry. Suppose information technology, IT based industry, they need the technical documents. Suppose experts are working in the technical IT industry and they need the technical documents. Suppose in the case of stock market operations, the stock market is volatile. Every day the stock market is changing. So in order to prove the changes in the stock market, we need the technical documents. The stock market point of view, we are using different chart diagrams for showing the trend in the stock market. So that is an example regarding the technical documentations. So it's like an engineering field, medicine field, IT field and stock market, so on. We need the technical documentations. So technical documentation is a part of the documentation. And we keeping the documents in the form of the technical aspects. Mainly these types of the documents prepared by the statisticians, designers, economists and stockbrokers. Suppose Indian economic growth are improving. So we need the technical documents, a GDP rate and the primary sector growth, secondary sector, tertiary sector growth. We must prove the growth in each sector. So we need the technical documents, how the primary sector is achieved and how the secondary sector and tertiary sector are performing. So the statistician must involve the technical documents in order to support the arguments. So the software point of view, now it is artificial intelligence is going on. So we need the technical documents. A designer is also need the technical documents. Economists, statistician, stockbrokers point of view, we need the technical documents. So that is the term is the technical documentation. The technical documentation means it's more than like a text. Texting is a previous format. Nowadays the documentation is more than text. We use the videos, screenshot, chart, diagrams and the visual elements for the modern communications. Nowadays we are using the term the artificial intelligence for the communications. So the technical documentation is created in the various industry for like the engineering, medicine, IT, stock market and so on. So the technical documents are very important for the documentation point of view. And what are the important types of the technical documents? And a lot of the types of technical documents. Here we're discussing the financial point of the technical documents. And one of the important technical document is investment analysis. The investment analysis is mainly for the stock market operations. We are investing in the stock market, we need the investment analysis. So the technical documentation point, the first important element is investment analysis. That means how the fund are performing, how the mutual fund is performing. We can prove with the technical documents. So that first important element is the investment analysis. And second one is cash flow projections. The company's performance can be easily identified with help of the cash flow. That's the movement of the cash inflows and the outflow. The cash projection, the future cash inflow. We can easily predict the future cash inflows with help of the cash flow projections. Second one is the cash flow projection. The tender, nowadays e-tender is using for the different transactions and different manufacturing process and different construction process. We're using the tenders. So the e-tender is very important technical documents. Then agent contract, we are performing the lot of the agent contract with help of the technical documents. This is a part of the technical document. And there is a leasing. Leasing is an agreement between the lessor and lessee on the basis of the lease rental. That's a part of the technical document. The leasing nowadays is performed with help of the technical side. So that is a technical document. That is a leasing. And the staff need forecast, market research, annual general report, all are the technical documents. The companies are performing the annual general report. It's mainly for the technical analysis, how the net profit is going on. The net profit is increased or decreased can be easily identified with help of the technical documents. So here we discuss some important technical documents like the patents, technical reports, and the books, the manuals, and encyclopedia, dissertation, standards. All of the important parts or the types of the technical documents. Patents. The patents are most significant technical documents. Suppose you are finding something new, you can take a patent with help of the technical documentations. You can apply for the patent. Exclusive right is granted for the particular element. The term is known as the patent. The patent is a part of the technical documentations. Okay, so these are the important types of the technical documents as per the business point of view. There is investment analysis, there is a cash flow projections, the tender, agent contract, lease, staff need forecast, market research, and the annual general report. These are different types of the technical documents. Okay, and the other documents prepared by the technical writers. The person who performed the technical report, that term is known as the technical writers. And we're discussing some important documents prepared by the technical writers. And who is the technical writer? A person who performed the technical report, that's known as the technical writers. And we're discussing one of the important documents prepared by the technical writers. Okay, listen, the first important document is the description documents. The description documents is a documents should offer the detailed overview of a particular software. The descriptions regarding the particular software, an overview of the particular software. We are using different statistical softwares for the statistical analysis, like the SPSS and the R, AMOS. So these are different softwares. Suppose you're writing these descriptions regarding this software, the term is known as description documents. This document should offer the detailed overview of a software. That's the first important documents. That's the description documents. Okay, the second one is installation. Suppose installation means you are installing some software within your organization. You are installing a lot of software in your system. That's a part of the how to install a particular software. That's a type of the report prepared by the technical writer. And the installation is a part of the documents prepared by the technical writer. And here the installation documents mean a system administrator and how to install a software in the particular system. How we can install a particular software in the system. That's the installation procedure. And this installation works done by that means prepared by the technical writer. The second one is installation, and third one is configurations. Very important element. Technical point of view, the term is configuration. It provides the information on how to configure the system or software. Sometimes we need to configure your system for the better updations. So how to configure? So the technical writer just provides the informations on how to configure the system or the software. That's another important document prepared by the technical writer, that is the documentations or the configurations. And another one is user manual, how to use a particular applications. Suppose we are using the Google Pay, a lot of the applications, and how to use the type of the applications. So there's some instructions are necessary for the performing these applications. So user manual, it provides the instruction on how to get and how to use various applications. That's one of the important element of the user manual. It provides the instruction on how to get started and how to use the various applications. How we can use the various applications. That's user manuals, catalog system. That's another important documents prepared by the technical writer. Okay, and the last one is system references. That is one of the important elements. It provides the information on the system facilities and how to use those facilities. Lot of the facilities are within the system, and how to use this different facilities regarding the system. So that is another important document prepared by the technical writer. That's a system reference. It provides the information on system facilities and how to use these facilities. Okay, these are the important documents prepared by the technical writer. The first one is the description documents. That is the installation. That is the configurations. And there is a user manual and the system references. These are the important documents prepared by the technical writer. And another important thing is the technical report point of view. That is the standards. Standard is one of the important part of the technical report. And what is the standard? We are using different standard. ISO 9000 system, ISO 9000 2000, ISO 9001 2001 standard. What is a standard? A standard is a repeatable, harmonized, agreed, documented way of doing something. That is one of the documented way of doing something. The team is known as the standards. We're using a lot of the standards to measure the quality, to measure the performance. We use a lot of the standard. A standard is a repeatable, harmonized and agreed documents the way of doing something. The term is known as the standard. We use the term standard, ISO 9000 standard. Suppose you're buying a car, we refer to a lot of the standards. The braking system, the power window system can be easily measured with the help of the standards. A standard is like a repeatable and harmonized, agreed documents by the way of doing something. A standard contains the technical specifications, a lot of the technical specifications. Suppose to achieve the standard, we have to perform this lot of the elements. Suppose a company introduce a car in the market, and they argue that the car have a lot of the standards. So in order to meet the standard, they have to perform a lot of the specifications. How precisely criteria, design, consistently rules, guidelines and the definitions. Suppose we are using the brand of the BMW. The BMW has their own standard. The standard means there is a power braking system, the window system and the four-wheel drive system, and there is the facility of the speed. A lot of the application. There's a part of the standard. The standard contains the technical specification or other precise criteria, design used consistently, guideline of the definition. The term is known as the standard. Standard is a repeatable or harmonized, agreed documents by way of doing something. So we can measure the standard with help of the different apps or the applications. That's one of the important elements is the standard. And we are discussing the steps for the standard, how the standard is ensured, how the standard is created. There are basically 5 important steps for the standard. The one is internal consistency, second one is gather requirements, third one is the design, and fourth one is the production, and fifth one is signing off. Our internal consistency means, suppose in order to create a standard, we need the internal discussion with the expert within your organization. So we need the discussions to create the standards. So first you ensure the internal consistency, and internal consistency means internal discussion within organization and an expert. And after the internal discussion, we can conduct the workshop. The second important step is the gather requirements. The workshops are arranged with help of the external experts. The gather requirement, that means workshops provide a lot of the information, how to create a good standard, and how to we can identify the standards of the experts. So that means the external discussions. The gather requirements mean the workshops. What is the importance of the workshop? Suppose you are conducting workshops, we can achieve a lot of the knowledge. So that is one of the important steps, is the gather requirement. And the third one is the design. The design means formatting. The format is very important. Suppose you ensure the standard, we have to frame a lot of the format. The designing is a part of the format. That's how to create the good format for the standard. Suppose your format is ISO 9000, it can be follow the entire process of the ISO 9000. Suppose 2001, we need to use a 2001 standard. Okay, and after third stage is design, and after what, there is a production. Production means technical reviews. This is the production process, means the technical reviews. The technical side, the default can be identified with help of the production. Suppose you produce, that means you get a lot of the reviews from the expert. So must be incorporated the reviews from the technical point of view. That is the fourth important step, is the production. And fifth one is the signing off. That means publishing a standard. Suppose everything is okay, we can sign off. Signing off, that means you can publish your standard. These are the 5 steps regarding the standard. The first one is the internal consistency, and second one is the gather requirement, and third one is the design, and there is the production and the signing off. And internal consistency means internal discussions with the organization, and gather requirements means there's a part of the workshops, and design is like a formatting, and production means the technical reviews, and last one is signing off, that means is the publishing. And these are the 5 important steps regarding your the standards. Okay. And after that, what do you mean by the term is industry standard? We already familiar with the term is standard. What is a standard? A standard is like repeatable, harmonized, agreed documents by way of doing something. The term is known as the standard. It's like a document way for doing something. What is the industrial standard? Industrial standard means like a criteria for setting the industrial performance. That means carry out the operation irrespective of the field of the production. So industry standard means standard is relating with a particular industry. Then identify the competency of the particular industry. Suppose in the tire manufacturing industry, we have to perform the industrial standard. We have to identify the industrial standard. So we can use a lot of the tools for identify the performance of particular industry. So the term is known as the industry standard. It is a crucial tool for meeting of an industrial goal. Industry standard is one of the important crucial tool for the industrial goal. Suppose the banking industry, they use different types of rating systems. How they measure the performance of the bank? The CRISIL rating system, ICRA rating system, CARE rating system. And these different types of the rating tools are used for measuring the performance of the bank. Okay, and industrial standard means how to identify the performance of a particular industry. We can use a different standard for measuring the performance of the industry. The term is known as the industry standard. Industry first at a global as per the domestic competence, the competency of the industry. How the Indian banks are competing with the foreign banks. We can identify the performance with help of the industrial standard. We can use different types of the rating system. So the term is known as the industry standards. Okay, that's a very important element of the industry standard, is one of the important elements of the technical documentation. Okay, what are standards for the documentation? We already familiar with different types of the documents. We are specifying what are different standards for the documentation. Suppose a quality for the documentation. And there are 6 important qualities or standard for the documentation. One is the documents must be clear. Suppose you're performing the documentation. Suppose you're doing the documentation, whether it's a technical or not, we need a lot of standards. And the first important clear, that means the technical writer use short words and short sentence must be communicated. So a writer must be use the short words and the short sentence for communicating the documentation, communicate the elements in documents. The first one is a clear, and second one is the concise. That means the writer does not use the big words. My little one will do. Does not use the big words. That's one of the important. So that's a easy and simple words. That's the concise. The second one is the concise. And third one is the correct. A writer observe the conventions of the grammar, spelling, punctuation, and the usage. The term is known as the correctness, that using the grammar, spelling, punctuations, and the usage. That must be accurate. Your documentation must be accurate. The writer makes sure that the content is true and all the procedures must be satisfied. It must be accurate. That means ensure the genuineness of the documents. The term is known as the accurate. And there is accessibility or accessible, that which use locate the information seek. That means it must be focusing on the informations. The term is known as accessible. The case which users can locate the information they seek. So that is the fifth important element is accessibility. And sixth one is the complete. That means the writer makes sure that the technical documents include everything the users needs. That is the completeness. Everything is required for the users, and all the information must be the effectively and the efficiently. Okay, these are the important qualities required for the technical documentations or the normal documentations. The first important element is clear, the concise, the correctness, accurate, accessible, and the complete. These are the important elements or the important qualities required for the documentations. Okay, and after that finally we are discussing what are the characteristics of the documentation, attributes or the features of the documentation. And these are the important characteristics of the documentation. The first important, the content. The documentation is purely focusing on something, that's the content. The content wise listing is essential for the documentation. The first important attribute for the documentation is the content listing. The first important listing of the content. The content must be supported. So the first important characteristics of the documentation must be focused on the contents. And second one is state the purpose. What is the purpose of the documents? Whether a technical point of view or the analysis point of view. So must be state the purpose of the documentation. Suppose you're preparing the project, you must be state the purpose of the project. And third one is navigation tool, must be properly indicated. Suppose it's performed for the government, this report documents must be indicating the government, take the right policies, right decisions. That's navigation tool. That is accuracy, that must be accurate, the documents must be accurate. Accessibility can be easily accessible to the different users. There must be clarity of the report is a very important element. There's a coherent, there's a order, there's a proper ordering of the technical documents. The documents must be properly ordered. There must be good system of order followed for the documentation. So the coherence is a very important element. There's a coherent. Concise, we already discussed the concise. That means do not use the big words. That's the concise. Completeness and comprehensive and the consistent. These are the characteristics of the good documentation. There must be content listing, state the purpose, navigation tool, accuracy, accessibility, clarity, coherent, concise, completeness, and the comprehensive and the consistent. These are the basic characteristics or the attributes regarding the documentations. Okay, because create the content will be a very important element of the documentation. That means suppose we can use different tools for creating the content. As the documentation is good, the result must be always good. So there is a documents and the result is properly connected. Suppose you have the good documents, your result will be improved, definitely improved. So these are the important characteristics of the documentation. Okay, let me conclude. The first we discuss what you mean by the term is technical documents. And before that, what is the documentations? The documentation means it's like a official informations or evidence or serve a record. The term is known as the documentation. And we can use a technical document. We can use the technical documents for the various purpose, like the industry point of view, stock market point of view. We can use the different types of technical documents. Okay, there are the different types of documents: investment, technical documents, investment analysis, cash flow, tender, agent contract, lease, staff need forecast, market research, annual general report. These are documents prepared by the technical writer. There's a description documents, installation, configurations, user manual, system references. These are the important documents prepared by the technical writer. And what do you mean by the team is a standard, and standard is harmonized, agreed documents to way of doing something. The team is known as the standard. And steps for the standard, there is internal consistency, gather requirement, design, production, and signing off. These are the 5 important steps regarding the standards. And what is the industrial standard? That means a tool for developing and meeting the industrial goal. The term is known as the industry standard. And these are standards for the documentation: clear, concise, correctness, accurate, accessibility, the completeness. These are the important standards required for the documentation. And finally, what are the characteristics of documentation? That's the content listing, state the purpose, navigation, accuracy, accessibility, clarity, coherence, conscience, completeness, and the consistent. These are the 10 important characteristics of the documentations. Okay, anyway, thank you so much, and thank you for watching me.